Hello, I'm Ayden.
And I'm Josh. Welcome to Undead Ramblings, where we talk about all things Call of Duty Zombies amongst other games, movies, and other media.
This is episode 10 of our podcast, which we are recording on the 24th of April. 10 episodes in is quite a milestone for us, isn't it, huh?
It really is, yeah. It feels like it was literally only last month, or a couple months ago that we started doing it. It doesn't feel like we've done 10 episodes. It's wild.
Oh no, I mean technically we've done 11, but this, if you want to include the pilot, but yeah, to have
true.
10 proper episodes is quite an achievement.
It really is. Well, hopefully you're enjoying it as much as we're enjoying putting them together. Sunny Vegas aside.
Yeah, absolutely. Last episode, we discussed our thoughts on the Black Ops 6 Zombies map, The Shattered Veil. So check that out if you haven't, as well as any previous episodes. I think we kind of set it up that, aside from the news section, you could probably watch these whenever. They're not...
Yeah.
They're always, I think each episode is relatively relevant, isn't it? No matter when you watch it.
Yeah, more or less. I would say, honestly, I was thinking about it earlier, they kind of almost fall into review categories. I would say at this point, you can totally watch them standalone. Yeah, they're just like you say, have a bit of relevant news at the start of each episode, but beyond that,
absolutely. I think that's kind of why I've shifted to calling our zombies thoughts into retrospectives now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just a couple of last things before I hand over to Josh for updates and gaming news. If you haven't already done so, please do the usual YouTube pleasantries of liking, sharing, and subscribing. I saw that Josh is now at 8.48k subs, so that's up from our last episode. So let's keep up the good work. Let's keep up the good work and get the channel to 8,500 subs before the end of the year. And one last thing, Josh and I are still looking for some help with the Black Ops 1 4-player Easter eggs, that being Ascension and Shangri-La. So if you're interested in that and want to kind of have our gameplay, or your gameplay and ours, in the footage, then drop Josh a message in the Discord or comment in the comment section below.
I'm actually thinking of doing a channel post mentioning it, so see if that gets any see if that gets any clicks.
That might be a good idea. Well, I'll hand over to you for channel updates and then any zombies and gaming news.
Alright, so there actually isn't any updates this week. It's been a bit slow as far as the soundtrack goes this week. I'll admit, I totally forgot about the soundtrack this week. So I'm going to start that up again next week. It's because we had Easter on Sunday, Monday, and all that, and it just totally threw me off, and I completely forgot when it was. So I'll probably start that up again next week. I assure you that was a complete accident. I did not intend to stop the recordings.
No worries.
Beyond that, though, as far as zombies and gaming news goes, we've something quite exciting has happened recently, hasn't it? A bit of a surprise drop, or shadow drop as they call it.
Absolutely.
With Elder Scrolls Oblivion getting a remaster, which is a game we're debating about covering next time, isn't it?
We'll go over that a little bit later on, towards the end, but the Oblivion remaster was very exciting to see being shadow dropped.
It was.
I got very giddy. It's probably the most excited I've been for a video game in a long, long time.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, because I'll try not to go into it too much, but just it's not a game that I really played too much when it came out. I played a bit of it. I think I always got to the first Oblivion game and then shut it out. No particular reason. I didn't not enjoy it or anything. It just never hooked me the same way Skyrim did for a lot of people. That's definitely the one I played the most. So it's interesting because I saw a post about it on Reddit where someone said it's funny to think that for people who never played Oblivion, this is basically a new release. It's just being shadow dropped out of the blue.
For real. I mean, I'm kind of similar to you. I got a little bit further. I think I got probably about halfway through the main story.
Oh yeah.
In the original Oblivion, but then other games just grabbed my attention, and I just felt like, because it was so archaic, I felt like I could go, like, I just wanted to go back and play Skyrim instead.
Yeah, yeah.
So seeing like it come out, and honestly, having played a bit of the original to the halfway point, I'd say this does almost feel like a new game, but with a realm of familiarity as well. Like it's honestly amazing.
It really is. Like, there's been some points with it so far where, like, I got a screenshot of it last night that I was going to send you, but I totally forgot about it. Where it almost looked photorealistic in places. It looks
Yeah.
really good. It's surprising because, like I said to you, like it being a Bethesda title, they're not exactly renowned for their graphics. So I was really quite impressed with this one. Some of the oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, it's crazy how much better it actually looks compared to Starfield.
Yeah, I'd totally agree with that. I will say some of the faces still fall into the uncanny valley, but it's not. It's far less often than it used to be. I remember in the original, some of the faces were really quite something to behold.
Yeah.
What's his
it's like
name?
this is what my sleep paralysis demon looks like.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Because I remember that. Is it the number one fan started his thing in Oblivion? Yeah, and his weird like ice cream hair and. I haven't seen him in this one though, so I don't know what he looks like now. But
They showed on the live stream. They showed like some faces, and he was on there, and he actually does look quite different.
right.
He also looks the same as well. Like he's still got that like Richter smile and like ice cream hair. So yeah. I honestly, yeah, like I think this is definitely going to be the case that we're going to be talking about this next episode. So
yeah.
with that in mind, do you want to move on to some of the other news?
Yeah. So beyond that, there's really not a whole lot going on in Black Ops 6 at the minute. We've got the Team Cranked, which we talked about last time, has finally actually come out. So it came out with the Black Ops event. I can't remember what they're calling it. But you know, it's the one where you get, what is it, John Black Ops?
Oh my god.
For actually doing it as a skin, which I thought was like kind of funny, honestly.
Gotta give Call of Duty credit for going with the meme.
Absolutely, yeah. But beyond that, yeah, Black Ops 6 doesn't really have a lot going on at the minute. It's just like, you know, it's still riding the wave of Shattered Veil having just come out like 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah. Do we know when Directed Mode is coming out?
I don't think so. It's normally like a month afterwards, isn't it? So something like that. I'm assuming it'll be like another week or two, if I had to guess. It might be when the Black Ops event ends, which I think is in 8 days from today, 7 days.
Right.
I haven't really been on it too much, so I haven't really kept track with it.
Yeah. Like ever since you and I beat the Shattered Veil, I've not touched Black Ops 6, so I'm completely out of the loop with everything that is going on with that game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really blame you. There's not, like you said, there's the whole replayability thing. There's not really a whole lot there other than camo grinding. So if that doesn't hold your attention, there isn't really much reason to come back to it.
Yeah, and like case in point of what's just come out, there's so many more interesting games for me to play right now.
Especially with Oblivion having just come out as well. That's took the wind out of Treyarch's sails for me. But yeah, no, it's nice to see another game come out that I've been really excited about, because I don't feel like, at least for me, that happens like very often these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a bit skeptical. We really need to kind of get back on topic for this episode, but I was just gonna say, like, I was a bit skeptical when I first heard that there was gonna be a remaster. Just because of Bethesda kind of fumbling the ball a little bit, their past few releases. But seeing the live stream when they announced it, and like the trailers, the gameplay changes, and all of the kind of like it's a real. I think it was who did they outsource it to? The remastering.
Virtuous, I believe they're called.
Yeah. They said that's it. They said in their kind of their section that it was a love letter to the Elder Scrolls, and
Yeah.
like after that live stream, I got more and more excited all the way through it, and
Yeah.
yeah, like I don't want to say my trust is back in Bethesda right now because I really want to see like what the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be, but it's nice to actually have a very good quality release.
I totally agree, and it's like you say, it's exciting to think that they're working on this in the background while they're focusing on Elder Scrolls 6. So. It's not like you said, that didn't take development time away from the new one, so hopefully it won't be too far off.
Honestly, if Elder Scrolls 6 is like, I want to say like if this is half as good as what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be, I'm all here for it.
Same
like take my money.
Absolutely.
But
one last thing I just wanted to briefly touch on is that they added mod support out the gate. Now that was a really good, but that was a really good choice. Hopefully it'll come to console eventually.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens with the console, but yeah, that was. I saw like a meme, like I think it was like an hour after the game had released, there was already 17 mods for it.
Yes, I did see that actually.
It was that meme of like someone like of like Jim Carrey kind of like typing on the keyboard.
Oh yeah.
Quality. Yeah, it's like slow down, guys. It's only been out for like 5 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah.
One last thing I wanted to mention, though, I thought it was really cool that they gave the creators of the Sky Oblivion mod, all of the creators of Sky Oblivion mod, a free copy.
Oh yeah. This is a mod I'm not too familiar with because I was never really, despite being the one who's just brought it up, I was never really into the modding scene for Skyrim. I've never really played Skyrim with mods. I know I'm going to get shot down for that, but
you're kind of handicapping yourself there.
Absolutely, yeah. Like the only mod that I ever really wanted to use back in the day was there's one to get the was it Speechcraft, whatever they call it in Skyrim, up to full, because there is no way I'm convinced you cannot do it in game organically. I have never found a way to get your Speechcraft to level up consistently.
You just barter.
You just barter over and over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just
right.
Like when you're leveling up your blacksmith, like and making all those iron daggers, go ahead and sell them all because that'll all add onto your speechcraft.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Because there's all these like options that I always wanted to take advantage of, but my speech was never high enough, so I never got to see the outcome of saying certain things in the story and stuff. Because the story for Skyrim is so short.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is turning into an Oblivion review, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Let's save this. Let's kind of put a pin in this and save it for next episode.
Absolutely.
This episode is actually going to be a special episode too, because we're going to be taking a break from our usual zombies map retrospectives, and we're going to be discussing the first half of Dark Souls, from the Undead Asylum to Anolondo and meeting Guinevere. Being as Josh is having his first kind of taste of a Souls game, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a series that I've always kind of watched from the background and like seen people play, and always kind of been like, I wish I could do that. I've never had the nerve or the willpower to actually give it a go. So we've been trying to beat it on co-op, which has certainly made my life a lot easier. I'll assure you of that much. Beyond that, I'm still learning the ropes, so I do apologise for my performance in the gameplay footage, because I can assure you I'm going to be hiding behind Ayden like a lapdog for 90% of the on-screen footage.
I would say this. Firstly, you're doing fine for your first kind of proper Souls experience. And secondly, you and I playing it co-op is actually giving you the chance to go ahead and play it on Steam on your own. So Like, it's
Yeah,
just kind
that's
of
true.
giving you that little bit confidence boost. Before we kind of dive more into that background bit, I'll just go over the topics for this episode. So, our first topic is going to be a little bit of our background with the From Software games. We're going to discuss gameplay. We're going to discuss locations, bosses, characters, and any episode of Undead Ramblings would be remiss if we didn't include a section on the soundtrack.
Absolutely, yeah. We've also got
So-
other at the end there, but we were going to include story, but as we said before we started recording, I'm not overly familiar with what's going on as far as the story goes, and I'm pretty sure that's probably true for most people when they first play it. It's not very, it's not very outward. You definitely have to go digging for it, which is one of the big appeals I've heard.
You'll
people say
find that
about
with
it.
most of the From Software games is that like the story is very ambiguous, and it's all kind of hidden in lore items. Like all the lore is kind of hidden in items and like encounters and like other kind of things that you experience in the game. So it's very much like in most of the From Software games, you have to piece the story together.
Right.
But yeah, so we might kind of mention story in the other section, as well as any other kind of missing tidbits. But yeah, it's not going to be kind of diving too heavy into story beats. I would say spoilers, spoiler warning, for those of you who haven't played it. But being as the game has been out since 2009, I think you kind of only got yourself to blame at this point.
Well, yeah. I was about to come back with a hit on the difficulty, but then I was like, I suppose it has been out quite a while regardless.
Yeah. So let's dive into our first topic of our background with the Souls games. So,
just before we do that, it's probably worth mentioning that we're doing this format differently because I don't know this game as well as you do. So you're going to do it in almost like a...
It's going to be more like an interview, isn't it?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
So yeah, it's not going to be like our usual episodes of Undead Ramblings.
Yeah, not as much back and forth so much. I'd like to, but maybe when we get to part 2, because we do plan on doing a second part of this, when we're beating the game together, I'll be able to hopefully pitch in a bit more. But for now, I'm still learning.
And just to kind of like reinforce that this is a kind of part 1 of Dark Souls, being as Josh is now at what I and many others in the Souls community would consider the first half. He's completed like the first half of the game, so there is going to be a follow-up episode later down the line when Josh and I've beaten it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for now, let's go into our background. So, Josh, cast your mind back way back when you first tried Dark Souls.
Right. I'm pretty sure we have a very similar story here, based on what you told me. What's written in the document as well. I think I first picked the game up off Games with Gold, showing my age.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Absolutely. So my first experience with it, I didn't do too bad in the first section, the Asylum, but obviously that's more of a tutorial section, so you're not bound to run into too many problems there. My first problem came when you first get to Violink, is it? I believe.
Yeah.
And instead of going the way the game wants you to go, I ended up going into the graveyard and trying to fight my way through all those skeletons. Like, looking back retrospectively, it's so obvious that you're not meant to go that way with how buff the enemies are. It doesn't make sense to go that way, but for some reason back then I just kept persisting. I was constantly trying to... I think it's because I went in knowing that the game was supposed to be really difficult, so I thought maybe this is just how it's supposed to be. So I never went the other way until like a couple of years later when I gave it another shot, and I thought, you know what? Let's try a different route. So we went the other way and through the Undead Berg, which is a much better route to take. I don't even know if it's possible to go the other way this early. Does it even lead anywhere?
It does, to a point.
Right.
And there is loot down that way, but I mean, you're not going to have as much a good time unless you go to the Berg first. You kind of It's encouraged that first time players and those who are inexperienced with this game go to the Berg first. Obviously, like speedrunners and souls vets will might go to the graveyard and the catacombs,
just to get like an early start
from there. Yeah, exactly. Because like as I said, you can get some really good loot in the graveyard. You know, my sword, the Zweihander, that's actually at the other end of the graveyard. So you can get that really early on. And then there are other kind of buffed up loot that you can get. So it's a kind of like speedrunny area if you want to kind of get overpowered early. But most people would or should go to the Berg first, especially if they're not used to these games.
Yeah, it's definitely what I would recommend. I mean, I managed to get through it, so it's definitely possible to go that way.
Yeah,
I would definitely say it's easier than the other route, from what I remember anyway.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you went to, after you getting humbled in the graveyard, you didn't pick it up for a few years, and then you picked it up again and went to the Berg. That wasn't for this, was like your current playthrough, was it?
No. I've tried the game 3 times.
Okay.
Over time. So.
What's the furthest you've got, and like what's kind of stopped you from getting through it?
For me, the second time I attempted it, I stopped pretty early on again. It was around about you know the campfire in the Berg, the one that's or the bonfire. Sorry, to get my
the
terms
first
right.
one you come across.
Yeah, the one the one at the bottom of the ladder.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kept trying to get to the Taurus demon, and I couldn't beat it, and I lost my patience with trying to fight through the enemies each and every time. And like I say, the formula for me didn't work back then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the patience for it. And to a degree, I still don't. I still get really quite annoyed if I can't do something in the first 3 tries, but
yeah,
I'm gradually getting better at it. I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, ironically, soul crushing when you lose all your stuff.
Yeah.
I still hate the feeling of having 10,000 souls and then you die and it's all gone. And it's it's so demoralizing unless you want to put the game down for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think I'm getting better at it. And the third run was when I tried it on solo, just before we started playing it together. When I said that I was going to give it another go on Steam Deck. In fairness to me on this one of the bumpers for my Steam Deck is dodgy, so the shield would constantly flip-flop between being equipped and not equipped, or not held out, so I would constantly take cheap damage from it. So that I was kind of working at a bit of a disadvantage on Steam Deck as well. And as you know, we ran into that problem when we played it. I had to use the paddles on the Elite controller instead because I don't. My LB button is always the dodgiest button on every controller I buy. I'm not sure what it is about this button. It just never works. So yeah.
I was gonna say isn't that the? I was just gonna say I think I mentioned to you before, but Josh and I. So just a bit of context here. Josh and I played Zombie Army Trilogy, Sniper Elite Zombie Army Trilogy.
Class.
And I believe that's the same button you use to kick. So if you've been kicking a lot, if you might be experiencing what my controller experienced and just got button fatigue and it's just started not working because of that game. So
absolutely, yeah. I remember playing a lot of Extinction, Call of Duty Extinction when we played this. Or when I was using this controller, so I don't know if that had a button that constantly used LB. I don't really remember.
I think it's just a tactical grenade, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Don't remember if there was any kind of spamming grenades that we used or anything like that. Because I didn't use this controller all that much, but I'm not going to go into that because it's just going to turn into a review on my Elite controller instead.
Yeah.
But just going back to what we were talking about, on my third attempt, the current one, I managed to get up to the bell gargoyles on my own, and they stonewalled me again for like a month until we started playing it, and then we basically got like halfway through, haven't we?
Yeah.
Admittedly,
Yeah. So you on
me
your current...
piggybacking off your success.
Stop it. I'm vetoing you kind of like going along those lines at all. Like, you need to stop. So we're playing on Xbox. Are you still doing your kind of quote unquote third run concurrently? So you said that you beat the Bell Gargoyles and then you beat the Capra Demon. Is that the same kind of third run that you're on?
Yes.
Cool.
Cool. So yeah, I was just trying to play catch up the last couple of days before Oblivion came out, but that's kind of railroaded my attention yesterday. So.
It's the same with me with Resident Evil games, and Oblivion comes out and it's just like, nope.
Yeah, we've just been flashbanged by new releases, so everything's taking a back seat at the minute.
Well, before we kind of go into your kind of thoughts on your first true experience with Dark Souls, I'll just kind of give a bit of background onto my experience with the From Software games, because I'm a lot more experienced in these games than you are. So my first...
Sobbing. Sobbing.
Stop. My first Souls experience, or From Software experience, similar to Josh, I way back in Yore, I picked up Dark Souls from Games of Gold, and I had a very similar experience that Josh did, in that I breezed through the asylum, no problem, great, and then I got to Firelink, and instead of going right towards the Undead Burg, I went immediately left and got into the graveyard. And like you, Josh, I thought that the difficulty of those skeletons in there was part of like what the game was meant to be, because the game was known as a difficult game. So it kind of had that pre-existing expectation in my head. Yeah. And being as I got absolutely bodied by those skeletons, I just thought to myself, you know what? Perhaps this isn't the game for me right now. And I'm not gonna I just gave up then and there. And so it wasn't until Elden Ring came out, and I saw the trailers for Elden Ring first, and I didn't realise it was From Software. I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty fun. I thought it was going to play similar to kind of Dragon Age. Yeah. Back when it was good.
Ooh. And I mean, you've got a point, because the new one has just gone free on PlayStation Plus recently.
Oh,
so I don't know what that says about its quality, but is it Veilguard, the new one?
Yeah. It's pretty much political messaging, the video game.
Right, yeah. Also, I remember seeing about it is don't worry, I'm not going to go into this too much, but I was seeing that they've redesigned a lot of the characters, and people didn't like it. Like a lot of the races have been
it's a very cartoony art style that they're kind of going for.
Yeah. Anyway,
but it's got deeper issues than that. But getting back on task, so so I thought, oh, Elden Ring looks pretty good, but then I saw that it was a From Software game, and I thought, oh no, it's going to be really hard. I'm not going to be able to play this. Yeah. And my wife said to me, Ayden, get this game, it actually looks really pretty. Like, she just wanted me to play it because it looked pretty. She didn't know how difficult it was, and so I just thought, okay, you know what, let's give it a go. And playing through Elden Ring for my first time, I struggled, because naturally, as you do when it is your first kind of proper dive into these games. Yeah. But I found it was a lot more forgiving, and I managed to get through Elden Ring on my own without any kind of external help or guides. Yeah. And that kind of gave me the courage to then go back and play the other games that they've made. So I went back and played Dark Souls 1 from the Games of Gold. And because I had that experience with Elden Ring, that actually gave me a bit more confidence, and I kind of realised which ways you were meant to go. I had to guide a couple of things because there are kind of some stops that you kind of get to that you're like, where do I go now?
Yeah.
And then after beating Dark Souls 1, I played Dark Souls 2 and 3. And then I played Dark Souls 1 Remastered, which is what we're playing on and what you're probably seeing in the footage right now.
Yeah, probably worth mentioning that, but it is the remastered version, not the original release. I don't know if there's any major changes there, but just in case anyone wanted to know.
Yeah. And then after that, I played Bloodborne. Around, like, I went to my wife's parents. We went to theirs for Christmas one day, or one year, and they had a PlayStation there, and they had Bloodborne. So I played through Bloodborne, which is, I would say, is my favourite, my second favourite From Software game after Elden Ring, and then I then played Sekiro. So I kind of got, and then I've not long gone through Elden Ring a second time to do the DLC for that. So my experience, I've got a lot of experience with these games now. I'd say I'm not a kind of aged Souls veteran. I'm not one of the old guard, as they say. Like I am zombies, but I'm definitely like got quite a bit of experience with these games. So and you kind of keep saying to me like you feel bad that I'm having to play through this through the remaster again, like Dark Souls 1 again, and kind of carry you. And I keep telling you that I'm having fun. Like, I love these games so much, and I think I think like the From Software games are some of the best quality games you can ask for.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. There are sections that we'll get to in the first one that I do think are a bit scummy and a bit cheap. And I'm pretty sure, well, based on one of them that we're probably going to talk about, everyone agrees is cheap. A specific section involving walking up tight, like, platforms while people are pelting you with arrows that knock you off as soon as you get hit once.
Absolutely. And the only one I haven't played from Software game I haven't played is Demon Souls, but that's a PlayStation exclusive. So, and I don't think I'm going to be playing the one that's going to come out on Switch 2 anytime soon, just because of how much that is. But I'd like to. But I think for the most part, like, From Software is one of those, like, when I see that they're making games now, I don't usually pre-order, but like with the new Elden Ring game coming out, is it Nightreign? Coming out, I'm happy to pre-order it because I know that they're a trusted company.
Absolutely, like as I said to you before, like for me, it's like Resident Evil. That's the franchise I'm always happy to pre-order because you always feel like you get something solid out of it. So I totally get where you're coming from when you trust a certain studio to put out a good quality game. It's nice to have a studio like that because I don't feel like there's too many studios I would buy a game from every time.
Not in the AAA arena, no.
Yeah, same. Like
you kind of see that more in
Activisions.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of see more trust in like indie developers. It's very rare like that you get like From Softwares or Larian Studios who did Baldur's Gate 3 that actually care about their community and the consumers.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it's nice to see games that you feel safe to pre-order these days because I know there's a lot of anti-pre-order messaging, which I know you do yourself with certain games where you're like, just don't. And I totally understand why.
Like Call of Duty's like case in point.
I think for me, like live service games are totally off the table because you never know if they're going to be down in a year's time. I would never pre-order like a live service title or something like that.
He says pre-ordering Vanguard.
God, don't. It's a shameful stamp on my record.
I'm never
don't tell
let
everybody.
You live that down. I'm never letting you live that down. You lived with that buyer's remorse.
I do live with that buyer's remorse. God.
Well, okay, so let's go over your kind of initial thoughts on your first half of Dark Souls, being as this is your kind of first true experience with the game now. So, what's your overall thoughts of the game now that you played it?
Um, Look, right now, I feel like I might finally be crossing that threshold a little bit. I've recently, I don't think I mentioned it before, but like I said, I was stuck on the bell gargoyles for ages and then just walked away from it again for a bit. I have finally managed
sorry to interrupt, like, when you say threshold, what do you mean?
You know, I feel like there's a point with these games where you hit the wall over and over and over again, but eventually you cross it.
Yeah.
And I think I might finally be getting there, somewhat. Like I say, the fact that I managed to do... I know it's very basic and everyone's probably, pissing themselves laughing at me saying about how such a big deal it was for me beating the Bell Gargoyles and the Capra Demon on my own. But I don't know, that felt really, really quite good, actually being able to do that on my own. It's definitely given me... Yeah, it's the closest I've gotten so far playing it to understanding what people talk about when they say that feeling of beating a boss, or like getting your ass kicked over and over and over again, and finally crossing that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
It's the closest I've got to having that feeling was when I managed to beat the gargoyles.
That kind of relief and sense of accomplishment feels really good, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So I'm beginning to see the appeal. Whereas before, I was still kind of in the halfway point where... Because like I say, when we've been playing it together, I have been really enjoying it. But, I mean, we have to be honest to a degree. You are totally carrying me on these playthroughs. So it was kind of, like nice to be able to say, oh, I actually did that. You know what I mean? Like I say, I'm not complaining. Without you, I probably wouldn't have even tried the Bell Gargoyles again.
Yeah,
I would have probably walked away from it.
yeah. So, like, I mean, this is what I mean. Like, I've said this to you a couple of times now. That, like, you don't correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't strike me as the kind of person who would like go out of your way to kind of try these games, like as seriously as you have now. Like you're kind of more comfortable with the kind of like you said, Resident Evil kind of style games, or like the Call of Duty. So like this is like, am I wrong in saying like this is very alien to you, like this kind of genre?
It's been on my radar, but it's not a game I usually play. The closest I've got gameplay style to this was Monster Hunter, which is obviously nowhere near as difficult as this is, because it uses similar mechanics, like I say, like the rolling and all that. So I did know a few of the features and were comfortable with them out the gate, but yeah, it's not the kind of game that I would have gone out of my way for before, I don't think.
Yeah, you're kind of out of your comfort zone with these games.
Yeah, it was seeing how much enjoyment you had with them, and I thought, what is it about them, that pulls people in? And I really wanted, so I wanted to give it a go and see what it's all about,
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it's because I knew that you were kind of coming out of your comfort zone for these games that I wanted to kind of play this first one at the very least.
Yeah.
With like knowing that you also had it on Steam as well, so you could play it on your own. And so playing with you on it on Xbox, I wanted to kind of use that as a means to show you that these games aren't as intimidating as they're made out to be.
Yeah,
like they are difficult, but I think the reputation of difficulty is like far blown out of the water than like what the internet has made it to be. And I think there is that level of expectation of difficulty that does kind of put people off. And so like I wanted to kind of show you that you can beat these games and kind of give you, while you're kind of not experiencing it on your own for the first time, you can kind of experience what you're going to be coming up against and actually know that like you can overcome it. And it was always to kind of like, our playthrough is to always to give you that encouragement to go onto your Steam Deck and do it on your own. So I'm really happy that you've managed to, like you say, people are going to be laughing at you, but this is your first true Souls experience.
Yeah,
So it
true.
is going to be difficult, especially when it is a game that you're not comfortable with. So getting past the Bell Gargoyles and the Capra Demon on your own is a real achievement.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because, like I say, I genuinely didn't think I was going to get past them on solo. I thought we were going to beat it on co-op, and then that would be that. I honestly
Yeah.
wasn't sure whether I'd come back to it afterwards, but
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I think I'm starting to get it very gradually. I'm glad that I managed to beat them before we did this episode because I can imagine my tone probably would have been a bit different if I hadn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still probably would
And
have been pretty negative about it. But
and I'm
sorry, what were
hoping
you
that like now that you have beaten them on your own, you can kind of you've got that confidence now to kind of be like, yeah, I'm gonna have a tough time because of the nature of the games, but I can overcome these challenges on my own.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you say, a lot of people, including myself, come in with the notion that it's really difficult and unfair. But and as a lot of other people have said, it's not unfair. It's just you do have the tools. It's just you just got to really, like you say, you've got to really take your time with it.
Yeah.
And figure it out. You can't just button mash your way through it, which is a technique I often find myself falling back into when things aren't going my way. I did it with Hollow Knight as well. It just evolved into, oh my god, I'm panicking. Mash buttons. You'll probably see me do it in the footage because, like I say, I should probably say that now. All the footage on screen is recorded before I beat it on solo, so so I might still look a bit. In fact, no, I don't want to sound arrogant, you know. I'm not trying to come off that way.
What?
Like, because I've beaten it now, I'm suddenly really good at it, and the next time you'll see footage, I'll be acing through it like it's nothing. It's definitely not going to be like that. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say.
Everyone's first Souls game is always going to be the most intimidating. Like that's the very nature of the beast. But you'll find that once you beat that final boss, you can beat them all. And I think we're kind of going into the second topic here of gameplay, and the first kind of thing I wanted to talk about was the difficulty and the learning curve that the game teaches you. Do you find that you're kind of, in both our playthroughs and the playthroughs on your own, that you're kind of experiencing that learning curve of, but also kind of getting into it?
Yeah, a little bit. It's like you say, it definitely feels like every new area is daunting in its own unique way. Like as I say, on my solo playthrough at the minute, I'm coming up to Blighttown now, having just done the Capra Demons. At least I think it's Blighttown, isn't it? Pretty sure it is.
It'll be the depths first, and then Blighttown.
Yes,
Still got the Gaping Dragon to deal with.
That's the one. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out my way around the sewers again. So that'll be fun. We had a hell of a time trying to do that on co-op.
I think most people on their first playthroughs get a bit lost around that area.
Yeah, totally understandable. But other than that, yeah, I do feel like there is that organic slope of it getting harder and harder. Like
but
I say,
you're
I
kind
feel
of also
like
getting more experienced with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't want to keep bringing Resident Evil up, but I kind of compare like the way it's set up to that, where there's often a route you can go several routes all at once, but only one route is the way they want you to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very true in this game as well. They give you a lot of options, but all of them will probably lead to you dying unless you go a very specific way that they want you to go. And it's just a case of trial and error to figure out which way they want you to go. Obviously, that wasn't the case for us because you've already played it before, so we had the foresight not to go through the graveyard the first time and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, the first half of the game, up from the Asylum to the end of Anolondo, I would argue is very linear. You're kind of, that's the way it kind of funnels you to go in that way, and that kind of builds up and teaches you and prepares you for what you're going to experience in the second half of the game.
Yeah.
The second half of the game, while there is a little bit of linearity there, it's a lot more open. You can choose which of the Lord souls that you can kind of go after.
Okay.
So, but everything that's kind of come before is kind of preparing you for that, as I said.
Yeah.
And in a
Absolutely.
similar way, like from I would say that the Bell Gargoyles are the first kind of major challenge that most players will kind of come up against.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that really kind of settle if a player can, if they can get over that wall, then they can beat and carry on with the rest of the game,
Right.
or they'll just give up there. But like every boss, including the Bell Gargoyles, kind of teaches you something. Like the Asylum Demon teaches you how to fight bosses in general. It is a tutorial boss.
Yeah.
The Taurus Demon teaches you about using your environment and the arena to deal with the boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Bell Gargoyles teaches you about gank fights and dealing with two or multiple enemies at the same time.
Yeah. I
And
think.
then
Sorry to hijack. I was just gonna say. I think. I think it's the dual boss fights are the ones that I struggle with the most.
everyone does.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
really struggle managing. I mean, I was fine. It was for the Bell Gargoyles. It was the fire attack. That was
Yeah,
what
yeah.
got me every time. I could deal with one on its own, but as soon as the second one came in, it was a nightmare trying to figure out how I was supposed to work around the fire. I think I ended up actually doing it by getting them both to use the fire attack so that they were both sitting next to each other, and basically came up from behind while they were stuck in the animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I ended up doing it. So there's a bit of advice for anybody who's might be thinking about playing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I was just gonna mention real quick, like the last kind of boss really is the gaping dragon, which teaches you about scale bosses, like bosses that are absolutely massive.
Yeah.
So all of those bosses kind of teach you how to deal with every other boss in the game.
Yeah.
Going to the kind of bell gargoyles, you like part of the difficulty, like and learning the learning the curve of the difficulty is knowing when to punish enemies and when to
Yes.
look
Yeah.
out for those openings, when to dodge, when to like it's all about positioning. And I think you mentioned it earlier, but like a lot of people might think these games are unfair, but I would argue, and you kind of experience this yourself, that at least the boss fights, some of the normal enemies can be a bit cheap, but at least the boss
Yeah.
fights, for the majority of them, are actually very fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there's definitely a trial and error to it. You definitely do need to fail at it a few times before you succeed. At least in my experience.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the experience of most players.
Yeah, it's all about learning their kind of attack patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm kind of glad you brought that up because it was kind of a big contributor as I was playing it, and when it started to click was the whole um like waiting for the opportunity to actually strike instead of trying to take advantage every single time you get an opening, which is a habit I kept falling back on. If I'd see an opening, I'd see him swinging, I'd be like, oh, I can get 2 hits in before. No, you can't. You have to take it very slowly. And it's very methodical, I guess, is the word I'd use.
I've seen a lot of people kind of akin the From Software games to rhythm games.
Yeah, that actually really does track. I know it sounds silly on paper, and I know like hearing other people say it, it's very easy to be like, oh, I don't need to do that, because that's what I was like. You could say I was like, it can't be that pedantic about you when you have to take your opportunities to attack them, but it really is.
Yeah.
You will be, if you continue to try and just hit them over and over and over again, you will be constantly punished and locked into combos. So that would be my advice.
And
sorry, what were you saying?
that also does largely depend on, like, the great thing about these games is the difficulty depends on how you kind of gear your playstyle. Like, you'll probably see in the footage, but I'm running a very kind of strength heavy build, and I'm wearing a lot of armor, and I like to kind of just go in and swinging, and because I know that if a boss does hit me, I can take the attack without kind of worrying too much. But your kind of build at the moment, you have to kind of learn that kind of waiting, and like you're kind of a wait and punish kind of playstyle right now.
Yeah, sword and shield and all that.
Why don't we go over the, like, being as we're kind of talking about our gear and such, like, why don't we go over the kind of combat and your tools for battle? Like, tell the folks like what class you're playing right now, and what weapons you're enjoying and such.
Well, currently I haven't, like, I don't know if this is a drawback on my end or not, but I've not really experimented too much with different weapons so far. I feel too scared to, because I feel like once you've upgraded, it's kind of like the sunk cost fallacy. Once you've put in all your eggs into one weapon, you're like, I don't want to let go of it because its damage is now higher than the other weapons, so it doesn't make sense to lose it. But sometimes other weapons just work better, as I found out with, because initially, I don't know if we have footage of it, I think I switched the weapon out before we started recording, but I did use the short sword for a while. I don't know if, no, in fact I might be using it. Didn't I accidentally say I was using it in the Painted World when we did that? I'm pretty sure I said I accidentally had it. Yeah, so I did have the short sword, but I eventually switched to the long sword on your recommendation, which did seem to be a bit better, so that was definitely worth trying. It also makes a hell of a difference having someone with you who can drop all these like Titanite shards and various other bits and bobs, which make upgrading a lot easier and a lot less taxing than it would be normally. So it definitely helps. Oh, go on.
I was going to say, like, I'm kind of giving, like, but being able to kind of drop you upgrade materials, while I can't give you things like the embers so that you can, like, get your upgrade paths really quickly, but being able to kind of give you the materials like the shards and Titanite shards, slabs and all of that, like, it's kind of giving you the chance so that you can experiment with these weapons without needing to worry about the cost of it. And losing or wasting materials, so that when you play through it on your own and you do upgrade it, you can be like, oh, actually, I know that this weapon is reliable, so I'm going to kind of sink my eggs into this basket.
Yeah, that's definitely how it's been going so far with the longsword. That's been my weapon of choice on the Steam Deck as well recently. I normally also, as we said before, I normally use a shield. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the heater shield, the one that guarantees 100% damage reduction. Because I remember you giving that one a recommendation.
Any shield with 100% blockage is always the best kind.
Aye. So yeah, that's the one that I've been using. Beyond that, though, the armor sets I've kind of been is something I still haven't really played around with too much. I normally just take what statistically looks the best. I'm still not entirely sure. Like, I know you brought it up a few times when we've been playing, but I'm still not entirely sure how the repair mechanic works or whether your armor's broken. That sort of thing. That's something I still haven't really engaged with too much.
So armor doesn't break nearly as quickly as weapons do, and even then, weapons do take a hell of a lot of punishment. So, but it only costs. I think when something does break, it means that you just can't use it, or you can't use it as effectively. Yeah. So, like in the case of armor and your shield, it will kind of just not. It won't block any damage.
Right. Okay.
So I would definitely recommend getting the repair kit from Andre. Because then you can do that. You can repair things yourself without having to trek all the way to a blacksmith.
All right.
But
yeah, I'll definitely
in terms of Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's too expensive either. But in terms of like armor itself, it really comes down to what you like your character to look like. There are going to be
Yeah.
like some differences. Like my armor, I think I'm wearing like Havel's armor. Is going to be way more tankier and defending or like blocking damage than something like a robe would.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
caveat of
sure.
that is that I suffer with an incredibly heavy build.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the armor is very much a preference of what you want your character to look like rather than function. There is an
Yeah,
element of function there, but it is more form.
yeah. It's. I'm glad we brought this up because if there is one thing I wish the game had was more room for you to play about with different builds. Because I feel like the game kind of locks you into whatever path you choose. Because
Yeah.
the game's constantly getting harder and harder, so you don't really have time to switch to a different weapon or a different set of armor to really, experiment with them so much. So I say I'm glad you gave me the option to
I
do
suppose
that
it's
because
kind
I
of going
probably wouldn't have had
into
it otherwise.
yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I suppose we're kind of tapping into the leveling and upgrading part of this section, in that the game. You're right. The game does kind of lock you into a play style once you've picked it out.
Yeah,
Until you kind of unlock a sufficient soul farm that you can then sink skill points into other
yeah,
areas. But for on the very face value, until you get that, you are kind of almost semi-locked into a particular play style once you picked it.
yeah,
This is something that other Souls games later down, or FromSoft games later down the line, do elite or address.
yeah,
In that you can respec some of your skills.
yeah. I was actually about to bring this up actually because I remember you mentioning it.
hmm Um,
Um,
how
oh,
have you found the kind of leveling up and upgrading procedure?
confusing, but I think that's based on what you told me. That's the norm. It's not the most upfront, like typical upgrading procedure, is it? Where you have to use different shards to represent different elements and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I haven't personally engaged in our playthrough with any elements so far. I believe you said that was something that I should probably go back and do, like at some
Yeah.
point when we're not playing together. So I might have to go back and do that.
Yeah. Unless you kind of if you don't go down a kind of upgrade path, you do kind of somewhat handicap yourself a bit.
Right. I guess it's just a case of learning, because that's the problem. Like you don't know what you're gonna face. So like you say, some enemies are immune to certain elements and stuff. So it's just it's just a case of picking the one that you think is gonna work the best for the long haul, and that can be a pretty difficult thing to find. I think because like if I had to pick now, I couldn't tell you which one I'd go with without a recommendation from you first. Because like you say, there's no respec in Dark Souls 1, so once you've done it, you've done it. I believe you can pay to walk it back, didn't you, sir?
Sorry?
You can downgrade it by paying a certain amount of money.
In
Dark Souls 1.
No, not in Dark Souls
upgrade
1.
on
You
it.
can't.
You can't respec it at all.
Sorry, you were talking about your weapons, not your actual levels. Sorry.
Yeah, weapons.
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, so in terms of your actual weapons, you can pay souls to take them back to a base upgrade.
Right.
Like it's the upgrade before you choose your kind of path.
Right, I see.
Yeah. So you're not gonna walk it all the way back to like 0. You're always gonna get it up to, I think it's +5, and then you can then re-choose what upgrade path you go down.
Okay. So if you end up running into a roadblock, you can take the upgrade off, pick an elemental effect that's more appropriate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the only thing you lose there is kind of like the souls spent upgrading it before then, and materials. But certain
Yeah.
materials, I think it's up until the last item, like material item to upgrade. Most other materials you can find in the world and buy.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I remember the merchants have quite a few items like that you can pick up, so that always helps.
But yeah, no, the upgrade process and the leveling up process can be a bit confusing for a first time player, so I would recommend anyone kind of checking out a quick guide or a YouTube guide to kind of go over that. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally get, though, like, that some people might find that off-putting, because it was something that I wasn't too keen on myself. I believe I mentioned it to you when we first played it. I didn't like that I had to go and watch extraneous guides on YouTube to know how to do something in a game, but... And I still don't, really, but, you know, it's just how it is. It's an older game, so there's bound to be a bit of a bit of
these
jank.
things do...
Oh, go on.
Oh, no, you first.
I was just gonna say, I'm fine with it with, like, story mechanics and stuff. Well, story, rather, but I feel like for gameplay mechanics, they should probably all be in-game. Or explained in-game properly.
Yeah. And this is something that does, like, leveling up and upgrading weapons do get easier as the games kind of get more modern.
Yeah, so you've told me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like in 2 and 3.
How have you, just in like one sentence or two, how have you found the general kind of flow of the game? I know we've kind of touched on this a bit already in terms of the difficulty, but like just the general flow, like how have you found it?
I find it to be pretty enjoyable. It's basically just a series of corridors and then a boss fight, isn't it, really? For most areas. Not always corridors, obviously. Got some verticality, like with the Blight Town and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it so far. I like the distraction of being able to, of knowing, like, I've done a boss, and now I just have to deal with a couple of common enemies. Just have a bit of a breather, and be like, oh, a new area to explore that you haven't already gone through, you know what I mean? I mean, it could still be, what's the word I'm looking for? Imposing, I guess. You know, being like, oh, it's a new area, I don't know any of the enemies down here. Like, what was it, the ones in the sewers that you warned me about, the curse ones? Stuff like that, they can be really
the basilisks.
Yeah, that's the one. So there are stuff like that you have to watch out for, but generally I kind of like the downtime between boss fights. It feels like it's a boss fight gauntlet with a couple of enemies sprinkled in between, which I really quite like.
Yeah. It's almost like each area that you go into kind of builds up tension, which then culminates in the boss fight, and then once you've done that, you're like, right.
Yeah, it gives you a minute to breathe, and then you can, like I say, get to explore a bit and find some new weapons and new armor sets and stuff like that. Yeah. No, it's really quite engaging. I quite enjoy it.
Cool. Let's move on to the next section, the locations and the world of Lordran. So we've now covered like quite a bit of ground. So like, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 locations now.
Yeah.
We're not going to this episode's hopefully not going to be like 5 hours long, but we're going to go over some of these briefly. So we're not going to perhaps not go over them like one after the other, but just in general, like what areas have you enjoyed? What areas have you not enjoyed? What are some standouts?
Well, I think it's always easier to start with the ones you didn't enjoy as much. I feel like it's always easier to be negative than it is to be positive. So for as far as the negative ones go, Sen's Fortress. I really didn't enjoy Sen's Fortress. All the boulders, the blade traps, and I fell off like right at the end, didn't we? And I walked right over the bonfire up on the top. area where the giant
Yeah, you
is.
just walked off the edge.
And I had to go through the whole room again, walking past all those traps without dying, and it was anxiety-inducing. I think we've talked about it already a little bit, but I think as well, like, people in the larger community don't really like these parkour sections with the really tight ledges and enemies throwing stuff at you and all that sort of thing. So I'm hoping that's just something we don't see as much in the sequels, like a lot of narrow corners and platforming and enemies shooting at you. I don't mind the platforming
on that.
Oh, I'll be honest,
But
I'm not really a huge fan of that, like, because it feels
not,
like. Oh, go on.
Yeah, well, sorry, I was going to say, like, well, there is an element of that in other titles. It's more manageable, like, because of the controls aren't as clunky as they are in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know, I just don't like the idea of having your entire run robbed because you fell off a ledge after getting hit by an enemy that, like you say, decided on Castlevania logic today and knocked you back automatically towards the hole.
Yeah.
It's definitely because I should probably mention I've been playing a little bit of Elden Ring for the first time, and it was nice to not have to worry about the parkour as much. It was nice to just have open ground to fight on, and it felt a lot more fair in that way. Generally,
yeah. I think having a dedicated jump button in Elden Ring does make a hell of a lot of difference. I'll give that game that.
Yeah, as I say, like, I should probably reiterate that I've only played a tiny bit of Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1, so for all I know, like you said, maybe it's improved in 2 and 3, and it's less frustrating.
It has been a while since I played 2 and 3. I'm going to try and give them another go through at some point before I play with you, just to kind of get re-familiarised with it. But I know that 2 has a lot of frustrations in the community. It's definitely the black sheep of the trio.
Yeah, so I've heard.
But that's more kind of overall. There's quite a few, I don't want to say issues, but quirks with that game.
Right.
3 is definitely a return to form. I would say 3 is the streamlined Elden Ring version of Dark Souls 1, basically.
Right. I've heard people often say that one's the best, so I'm looking forward to getting to it.
Yeah, 3 is amazing. I think you'll really enjoy that. So you found Sen's Fortress, a pretty painful area.
I did,
yeah. Any other kind of lows and highs?
Not so much a low or a high, but I didn't find Blighttown to be as awful as I was worried it was going to be. I remember hearing a lot of horror stories about Blighttown and how it's the worst part of the game and whatnot. But honestly, I didn't have too much. I didn't think we had too much of a problem with it. Again, I haven't done it myself, so things may change.
Yeah.
But I haven't found it too bad playing it on co-op.
No, you first.
Oh, no, I was just saying that I haven't found it all that bad playing it together, but it may change.
Yeah.
When I do it on solo. What were you saying? Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I think most people's issue with Blighttown is really the poison swamp at the very bottom and the toxic enemies. But nobody likes chip damage, including myself. So I think that's kind of where Blighttown does get its reputation from.
I mean, that's not entirely true. FromSoft likes chip damage.
That's very true. You will find as we play the games in the series that it's a bit of a running joke, but there's always a form of a poison swamp at some place or another.
Ugh, great.
What about areas you've enjoyed? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to quickly say I thought it was quite funny because, like, you gave me that ring that was supposed to make it easier to get through without getting poisoned, but I was still getting poisoned left, right, and centre. So I can't even imagine what it was like without the ring.
What the ring does, it doesn't stop poison build up. It lets you move through the swamp quicker.
True, but I suppose by extension, you do spend half the time in the water, and I was still frequently getting hit by poison.
Yeah,
Even
yeah, but
being
what
able
it
to
meant
run.
was that you could run at full speed rather than having to just trudge through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see why people don't like the swamp. Beyond that, though, for places that I liked, I quite enjoyed the painted world. I thought that was quite fun. I like the visuals of Analondo. I thought they were pretty. Like when you first get there, it's kind of it's a bit breathtaking in a way. It's definitely the most vast area of the game so far. We did make a joke. I remember when we played it about how even in the remaster things look a bit unfinished in some places in Analondo. I'll see if I can get it on screen. That one stairwell, the spiral staircase, that kind of looks like the room isn't textured or is unlit. It looked a bit. It did look a bit, stand out. Beyond that, though, the other ones have been kind of so-so. I don't really have any strong feelings on the other ones. What about you? Have you got any preferences?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you with most of what you said. I particularly on my first playthrough, Sense Fortress was painful. I really did not like that at all. But on subsequent playthroughs, I kind of like knowing what to expect. I don't hate it as much.
Yeah.
I
feel like that's. I was just gonna say, I feel like that's what it is, isn't it? It's just a case of, like I say, it's that Resident Evil effect where once you know where you're going and what you're doing, it's never quite as bad the second time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's still an area in the second half of the game that people really, really don't like, just because it's dark and it's like you can hardly see. So
you'll have to remind me to record for this one.
Yes. But in terms, for the most part, I don't hate. I think hate is a strong word for areas. I don't really hate any areas in this game. I'm not a fan of the poison swamp, but I don't like chip damage. There's elements of each area that I like and don't like as much. I'd say the bergs, like the lower and upper Undead Berg and the Undead Parish are probably. I like those areas quite a bit. Not just because of easy enemies, but I like how they kind of flow.
I'd agree with that.
The layout of them. And the first time you see Analondo after beating Sense Fortress, it is just breathtaking. It's such a stunning visual.
It is.
And I'd say the first half of Analondo, when you're kind of going across the beams in the chapel, or
oh god, I forgot about the beams.
or around the balcony with those Silver Knight archers, can be a bit painful. But the second half isn't too bad, to be honest with you.
All right, is this the second half that we've done? Or is this after...
It's a bit after you get past the Archer Knights, and you drop into the actual building. The inside of the building I didn't find too bad. Yeah,
no, I thought it was alright. Like you say, it's mainly... when I think of parts of the game that I didn't enjoy as much, it always comes back to parts with tight walkways and deathly drops.
Yeah.
Everything else I'm fine
real.
with.
How did you find the Undead Asylum as a kind of tutorial area? Did you think it was fair? Did you think it could have had a bit more for tutorial bit? What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty solid tutorial. It's definitely not too challenging. It's kind of like a red herring almost at the start of the game, because you think, oh, this isn't that bad. What's everyone talking about? Yeah. But as soon as you get even the asylum demon isn't all that bad, so you get this false sense of security, thinking, oh, is this what people have been complaining about?
Yeah.
But you get very quickly humbled when it drops you into the real game.
You've not you've not gone back yet to face to have a rematch against the Asylum Demon.
Yeah, not yet. No.
Yeah. So he's a bit more beefed up this time.
Right. And I remember he said the floor's fallen out on this particular encounter, so that's
Yeah, and
something else to
you do
watch out
take
for.
full damage. Like, unfortunately, that's a feature in some of the games, that you do kind of take full damage before you take before you go into the boss fight, which is really
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'll have to keep that in mind when we go back, because I don't even know if we can do that one together, can we?
No, because I can't put my summon sign down in the asylum for some reason.
Yeah, right. I assume it's like you say,
So
because it's a tutorial thing, so people are probably... They don't want other people jumping in, I guess, during the tutorial, I'm assuming.
yeah, of course. Your best bet if you're wanting to experience it, is like in our playthroughs, is go to it just before you fight the final boss. Then you'll be kind of strong enough for him. You'll be more than strong enough for him, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
If you want to kind of fight him on your own, like, and then just fight him when you feel like you're ready in your own playthrough.
Yeah. Alright, I'll do that. That sounds like a good shout.
I know you kind of you've not there's. No, sorry, ignore me here. Any enemies that are kind of standouts for you?
It's a difficult one. There's been a lot.
Talking
I feel
about
like
standard enemies, not bosses.
Yeah, I feel like all of them kind of have presence. I don't feel like any of them can. Well, maybe other than the regular Undead guys.
Mhm.
Other than them, like a lot of them have their own, like strategies to beating them. You can't just ignore them and hand wave all of them away like they're all fodder. I think one of the ones that gave me a lot of trouble, and still does actually, the one where, the ones in the church for the bell gargoyles.
Yeah,
Those
the
knights.
big shield ones.
Yeah, the amount of times I died to that counter to your lunge.
Mhm.
Yeah, that really got on my wick a few times. There was the.
Is it the ones with the pointy shields or the kind of broad shield hollows?
I don't think it's the hollow. It's the. It's just one of those knights that are in
The really big ones.
Yeah, like
The one that
has
was
the sword
actually in
and
the
shield.
church.
Yeah, it's the one that's on the camps the
Right,
stairs when you
right.
go up to the gargoyles.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about now.
Yeah, the amount of times he pulled a reversal on my lunge and killed me instantly. Oh. He had me seething several times. I think I died more to him than the gargoyles, to be honest. He just kept... Because he's in the most awkward stairwell, and I suppose I should probably bring this up now. One of my big sticking points with Dark Souls 1, at least, is that the fact that you can hit the wall with your swings, but the enemies can't.
Mhm.
I hate double standard stuff like that. It's just so cheap, and it results in you taking tons of damage while they just swing wildly at the air and they land every hit, but you end up just bouncing off the wall constantly. And some of the arenas where they want you to fight enemies, they're kind of forced to hit the wall. That stairwell, like I say, it's only one person wide. So obviously you go to lunge at them, but you just bounce off the wall over and over again. That's one thing I don't think I'll ever like about this game. I do feel like that kind of double standard thing is a bit cheap. I mean, it is... Oh, go on.
I was going to say, I think that might be remedied in later titles. I can't quite remember, though.
It's not a thing in Elden Ring, and I've got to say, it's a much better experience for it. I had so much more fun fighting enemies in Elden Ring because I wasn't constantly slapping the wall whenever I was trying to hit enemies. Yeah, so I definitely think that they should remove that. If keep it a thing that's not in future entries, because I was really not a fan of that.
Yeah. And another thing that I know Elden Ring does, I can't remember if 2 or 3 do it or not, but when you're swinging your sword and you're moving forward when you do.
Yeah.
And that in this game, if you're fighting an enemy on the ledge, you have a real risk of kind of falling off the ledge just by swinging your sword.
Yeah, because like you say, you always move forward slightly when you're swinging.
That is something that in Elden Ring at least, they fixed so that if you go up to a ledge and you start swinging, you're not gonna fall off the ledge.
Oh, thank God for that.
So
I haven't really. Oh, sorry. What you said?
I was gonna say, like, the games do get a bit more fairer in that in areas.
Yeah, I can appreciate them being like, yeah, this was a problem. This isn't a fun gameplay mechanic, so we're going to change it, even if it does make it harder. I can appreciate that they can look at mechanics and objectively and be like, yeah, that's just annoying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm glad that they listen to feedback in that way, because like I say, I don't generally play FromSoft games, so a lot of these are relatively new to me.
You were mentioning also about the snake men in Sense Fortress to me before we started recording.
Oh yeah, they're not particularly awful or anything. They're just a bit, buff. They do take some abuse to put down, and they do some serious damage. I feel like when I get there on my run, I'm gonna have to grind a few levels to get some extra health or something to deal with them.
Yeah, I think if memory serves, you hadn't upgraded your weapon.
Yes, I had.
As much.
And they also expect you to fight them on those very same narrow walkways that I was talking about earlier. So,
yeah.
Like, what was it that happened towards the end when we played it? Towards the end of that area, where I went down the lift, and there's one of them right outside the lift where you have to go to get back to the blacksmith.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they plant one right on the walkway as soon as you come out the lift, and I'm like, what? If I get hit by him once, I'm going to get knocked off the edge.
Uh-huh.
So you just have to run away.
But you can't, like, go at speed because you might get knocked off.
Exactly, yeah.
Traps.
Honestly, I'm surprised, well, as far as enemies that we don't like, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the Titanite demon.
The thing with the Titanite demon is that 9 times out of 10, you don't have to face them. Like, you actually have to go out of your way to kind of fight them. There's only one instance where you might have to, like, deal with one. And when I say deal with it, it's more of a case there's a lot of room to just run around him and dodge his attacks so you don't actually need to fight it. They're awful to fight. They're just because of how tough they are to kill.
Yeah.
I don't think, from what I understand, not many people like fighting them.
Yeah.
And some of them are, like the one in Anolondo, are in really awkward positions.
Absolutely.
And tight spaces. So, yeah.
But we made history, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Like, I've actually, that one in Anolondo I never beat, but you and I managed to defeat it the first time. So, that's the first. But yeah, like while they're like really annoying and I don't like fighting them, I didn't really want to mention them just because you don't have to fight them, and I think that's the main thing. Like, unlike the rolling skeletons in the Painted World.
Oh yeah. Also, just before we move on to that, my sympathies to the people who got knocked off the walkways in Sense Fortress.
Yeah, when you have to deal with like 3 or 4, it's actually 4 in that lower bit that you need to fight.
I assume you're just meant to die. I'm assuming that's it.
Yeah. You might as well just like say goodbye to your souls then and there.
Yeah. Can you even get back up from there, or is it?
There is a way. You're not trapped down there. There is a way that kind of leads up to, and there is loot around there, which is the worst bit. So, if you do fancy going through there, equip that rusty iron ring and just run like hell. But be prepared to take the full damage.
Keep that in
mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But as I said, they're not as annoying as the rolling skeletons in the Painted World. And later on in the game, like, those things can just go suck a bag of dicks.
Like I say, you
horrible.
You took the brunt of them for me, so I don't really have a lot of input on them. I was hiding in the corner while you were dealing with all of them.
It's because I knew how horrible they were, and I thought if these guys like getting like chew you up, you'll just want to put the game down forever.
Fair.
Yeah, when Josh and I played through it, I knew I had the foresight to go down into the so in the painted world, you can either go down the well or go around what I call the back way, where in the open area where you activate the switch underground. And I had the foresight to take Josh that way rather than to make him go through the well and those tight corridors, just because they will just absolutely body you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not fun. The skeletons, I think. They don't even give you a lot of opportunity to kind of deal with them once they roll off, because you actually spend half the time that they recovered catching up to them, so they end up spinning up and attacking you again. So they're annoying. They're annoying.
Yeah. From what little experience I had with them, they did do major chip damage when they made contact with you. So. Mm-hmm. I could totally imagine them being really frustrating on your own. 100%.
Any enemies that you thought these are actually quite fun to fight?
I do quite enjoy fighting the. I know they're easy, but the regular skeletons with the swords. Not the ones with the shields and the swords, not the big shields. The ones with the heater shields.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy fighting those ones. They're not brain dead easy, but they're not difficult either. They're just kind of nice fodder enemies. I always used to like exploiting them by running around behind them and doing the backstab.
Yeah.
Because you could just run laps around them until eventually they have to turn their back to you. So you can just get a cheap backstab in. I know, I'm one of those people that apparently in invasions people hurt. As I found out on Steam Deck. Because I've had to, like I say, when I did the Bell Gargoyles and that, I couldn't use Solaire or anything because of the invasions constantly happening, and I couldn't figure out how to turn them off. So I was just I had it on once for 2 matches or 2 attempts, and both times I got jumped by the same guy, and he just killed me instantly with a backstab. So I was just no, that's enough of that.
Yeah, I think, again, I think later games do remedy that so that you can kind of summon NPCs in without needing to but block it so that online players can't attack you. And I think you do need to, though I think you do need to check your network settings, because I think you can make it so they can block other, just not be online, but still be able to summon NPCs in.
I was going to say, I suppose this is a good point as any to bring it up. We had to deal with our own invader, didn't we, when we were playing on this?
Yeah.
I don't really know if I want to mention their name. I don't know if that's a violation of their privacy, so I probably shouldn't.
Probably best not, but yeah, I've never been invaded myself in From Software. Well, in Dark Souls, so that was also a first to me, and they humbled us.
I was going to say it went about as I'd expect it would. That someone would come in with these endgame weapons and just immediately grill us the second they show up.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because I read up on it, and apparently it is balanced. They do level them down and stuff when you do join an invasion, but it didn't feel like that to me. I was instantly.
I don't know if that's because I joined you as well.
No, the guy that I was playing with on PC also humbled me in one hit.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean...
Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, there is a level of kind of experience there as well. If they're experienced players, it doesn't matter what level they are. Yeah,
true. But I mean, dying in one hit. Literally one.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And I have heard that the PC version especially is prone to hackers. So
that wouldn't surprise me.
There could be a degree of that as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he did hack. I mean, it doesn't take any amount of skill to beat me in invasions. So I'm not going to sit here and call hacks. But you know, I just thought the whole backstab thing was a bit cheap.
Yeah, for real. I just check your network settings. Do you have anything else you wanted to add or talk about in the locations of the world, or like basic enemy types?
Um, the only one I could think of worth mentioning was the one in what's he called? The one in the asylum when we had to go back to get the doll for the painted world.
Oh, the Silver Knight.
Yeah, he was the bane of my existence. I know the shame of it. I had to cheese him by running up and down the ladder. He's in like a corridor that's like one person wide, and you can barely get around him. I did kill him, but it took me a good number of tries and cheesing him on the ladder.
It wasn't even a Silver Knight; it's a Black Knight. They're definitely a lot harder.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was totally humbled by him several times. I had to wait until he did that forward lunge because he has a really big cooldown on that. So I kept exploiting that and then running back to the ladder. But yeah, I didn't have the best time fighting him.
Yeah.
I'm worried about fighting him again. I've got to say.
We know what to expect this time.
Yeah, true.
And again, was your weapon sets upgraded as they are now?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Though, if you want to unlock the soul farm in the painted world, you're definitely going to need to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm definitely getting that. I can assure you of that much.
Just before we move on to bosses, I just wanted to ask. It's a bit of a meme in the community, but like, what do you think of the interconnectedness of the world? Like how each area kind of connects to one another.
I think it works kind of well. I always like when you go into an area. It's very Metroidvania. Like Hollow Knight, I guess. Which is a game we did before. I think we mentioned it in a previous episode. Beside, platforming Dark Souls. Yeah, no, I quite enjoy it. I like being able to shortcut through areas and stuff like that. I think that's quite nice. It's, like I say, it feels very Resident Evil in that way. Yeah. It's definitely an aspect of that franchise I like a lot as well.
It's always kind of... I remember going through Blighttown and finishing that, and then kind of taking the lift up the first time. And then kind of... We haven't explored the main area the two areas that is between Blighttown and Firelink, because you've got the Cavern of Drakes and New Londo, the New Londo ruins. So we're going to be in... Those are areas that we are going to, but I remember going up from Blighttown through those areas and then taking the lift up back to Firelink, and when I heard the Firelink Shrine music, I was like, oh, home again.
Bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying that's where we're going next, back to Firelink.
Yeah. What? Just in general, like, what do you think of Firelink as a hub area?
Crap.
Yeah?
Because it's not working anymore.
You don't like it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's very fair. Your Firelink is currently not working because the Firekeeper is dead, but
I didn't even think about it. I totally forgot it. I'm probably going to fall into the trap again on my solo playthrough because I don't even know what we did wrong. So I'm probably going to fall into it again.
Yeah. You are thinking about it. I think you are going to want to. You're going to need to finish that quest because and bring her back because you can only fast travel from bonfires.
Yeah.
So if you end up going to Firelink and the bonfire's not active, you're gonna have to trek to somewhere else to fast travel.
Right. Yeah, it's something on my to-do list, isn't it? At the minute, I have to go on solo and kill that guy, but I haven't worked up the nerve to do it yet.
Well, try and do it before we jump on next.
I'm just because I'm playing Theo on solo. Like I say, I didn't particularly want to. If I couldn't take the bell gargoyles, I'd probably have no chance against this guy. So I thought I'd give it a fair share.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Right.
Let's move on to the bosses. So again, we're not going to go through all of these because there's quite a few of them. But what are your standouts? Which ones have you enjoyed and which ones have you not enjoyed?
Despite the frustrations, I did quite enjoy the bell gargoyles, despite the fact that I've been stuck on them for ages. I enjoyed fighting them one-on-one, but not so much as a group. That's when, like I say, it became a real issue. The Capra Demon was... I didn't like the arena so much.
Yeah.
I think that's probably... And the fact that it does not need 2 dogs in there as well. It's just needless. Got through it eventually, but like I say, it did take a good few tries of running in and immediately dying and then having to go back to the campfire and try again. As far for the other ones, though, I thought the crossbreed Priscilla one was pretty good. I liked the invisibility gimmick. I thought that was pretty fun. See, like, I don't really remember a whole lot of these. Like, we kind of just went through them and then it was done. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Didn't really spend a whole lot of time with a lot of these. I feel like if I'd done it solo, like I say, and spent a bit more time with them, I'd have a bit more to say with them. It's like I say, when we did a lot of these, we did most of them first time, didn't we, on co-op?
Yeah, I don't think there was any of these. Just looking through the list here, I don't think there was any of these that actually beat us, did they?
I think the Gaping Dragon got me once. I think.
Maybe.
I think, though. I could be wrong. I liked the last one we did.
Ornstein
ONS. Yeah.
Yep, ONS.
Yeah. See, I'm getting it. I'm getting it very gradually.
Yeah, Ornstein and Smo are a particular favourite of the community. They are what everyone would consider is the peak of this game.
Yeah. Does that mean the ones after are dropping quality, or?
I wouldn't say they're dropping quality, but a lot of people say, and I'm inclined to agree, that the second half feels rushed compared to the first one. And there are mechanics and things that people don't like as much, and it's more for certain areas. The Lord vessels that we're going to fight, or not Lord vessels, the Lords that we're going to fight, two aren't too bad. One is probably the most hated boss in the game because of how it functions. It's a gimmick fight.
Right.
And the second one is a bit of a hit and miss depending on what people think on it.
Okay. Speaking of bosses, what would you say about the last boss? It's something I'm not really asked. Is the
When
last
you say
boss, like
the very last boss of the game?
Yeah, not including DLC, just the main game's last boss. How is that viewed in the community?
Very favourably. Most people actually really like that boss. I really enjoyed that fight as well. It functions, thinking about... It almost functions like it's only one guy that you have to fight, but he functions similar to the pace of Ornstein. Not Smo, not the big one, but Ornstein, in terms of the pace of it.
Alright, that's the one that I ended up tackling with Solaire, so I have a bit of an idea.
Wait, which one?
The thinner one, Ornstein.
Okay, yeah.
Nice. You were dealing with Smurl, weren't you?
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of an idea then of what you mean by similar kind of.
I mean,
boss fight.
The last boss is very aggressive, but he also has a lot of punishing. I think he's the only boss in the game that you can actually parry, if memory serves.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's a great fight, and the community really likes him.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just interested considering, Dark Souls is all about its boss fights. So I was curious how it would end. Like, would it be a case of the last boss being one of those ones where everyone's a bit like, oh, or whether it would have a great last boss. So I'm glad to hear it's got a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I said, like most of the bosses in this are viewed on quite favourably. There is like one or two outliers. One definitely is really hated. But again, it's because it's a gimmick. It is just because it's a gimmick fight. And I don't. I think people prefer. It's very much like how the Sentinel artifact is more of a gimmick fight rather than an interactive boss.
Right. Okay. So there isn't. From what I get from that is there isn't really a boss per se. It's fight other things.
You're fighting the. Put it this way. No, you're not even fighting other things. You're fighting the arena more than the actual boss.
Right. Okay.
So I'll leave it at that.
I'll let that simmer.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to add? I know we haven't really spoken about the bosses that much, but I think we kind of covered really your experience with them. Like, is there anything else you want to kind of add?
I did like, I believe you mentioned it as well as being one of your favourites, the scale of the Gaping Dragon fight. I thought that one was pretty fun. I enjoyed the arena and the way it looks small coming over the waterfall. And then you're like,
yeah, it's such a gnarly cutscene. It's just like, oh, it's just a cute little fellow, and then it's just this absolute monstrosity.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think, looking at the list here, I think my favourite of these is probably the Bell Gargoyles, to be honest. I love that fight.
Yeah, like I say, it's one of those fights that, despite how much it gave me trouble, I never hated it. It's still, like I say, it always felt fair. Even when it was co-op, even when there was two of them rather, it still felt like you had a chance. And even if, like you say, you can also call in Solaire to even the odds if you really, really need it. So you never have to tackle it on your own if you don't want to, which I think is a really cool addition. Just remember to play in offline mode.
Yeah,
unlike
for
me.
Real. Yeah. And just one last thing on this, like, can you see from basically Asylum Demon through to Gaping Dragon how each of those, is it 5, kind of teaches you new elements of how these boss fights work? So, like, the Asylum being the tutorial, Taurus, I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but, like, the Taurus Demon teaching you about the arena, Bell Gargoyles teaching you about gank fights, Capra Demon teaching you about I don't really know what the Capra Demon really teaches you about, to be honest with you, but like the Gaping Dragon teaching you about more gank fights, and the Capra Demon, the Gaping Dragon teaching you about scale boss fights. Like, can you see how all of them are kind of teaching you of what to expect?
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely have like a escalation to them that keeps you on your toes for sure. I'm assuming that's the end of tutorial fights like that then? Like, everything else from now is going to be retreads of what we've already done? Apart from
more or less. I mean, you're already kind of seeing it, like, with, like,
apart from
the ones that come out.
Obviously.
Sorry?
Apart from the gimmick fight, obviously. That one seems to be pretty standout.
Yeah, I don't think any of these really are gimmick fights that we're seeing here, no. But, like, you're kind of seeing... you're already, like, in the latter half from the Gaping Dragon, you can see where elements of what we've fought before are kind of coming to the fore. So, like, the Iron Golem and Quelaag are kind of more scale fights. Priscilla is more of a kind of... I guess Priscilla is more like a Capra Demon, like, in that the Capra Demon teaches you about duels.
I would agree with that.
If you take out the dogs, and then you got Ornstein and Smo, who are your gank fights. So you're already kind of seeing after the Gaping Dragon where those bosses are
absolutely
present.
Yeah, I would also definitely agree with the community on ONS being the best fight so far. For me personally, it was really quite enjoyable, that one.
Good luck when you play through it on your own.
Yeah, I had fun with it on 2-player, but I've heard a lot of people say it's the hardest one in this game, so...
It's, I think... Well, I said that the Bell Gargoyles are the real test if, for players if they're going to I'd say the Bell Gargoyles are the first like real hurdle that players are going to face.
Yeah.
And then if they can beat them, then they can kind of go on to fight the rest of the game. The Ornstein and Smo really test everything that you've had to face before.
Right. Okay.
Even when in the second half of the fight, when you got to fight one of them,
Yeah.
they scale up, and so you have to deal with the gank, you have to deal with the scaling up, you have to use the arena to kind of deal with them.
Yeah.
That they're the test of kind of everything that's come before, and if you can beat them, you're gonna breeze through the rest of the game.
Right. Good to know.
You've mentioned him. Let's move on to characters. So again, we're not going over every character, just some standout ones. And I think you've mentioned him a couple of times. What's your thoughts on Solaire?
He's an absolute shad. Yeah,
Praise the sun.
No complaints whatsoever. He's always showing up whenever we need him, like any of these boss fights. So.
For some jolly cooperation.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, he's a bit of a meme, isn't he? Same with the next one, actually.
Sigma Katarina, the Onion Knight, as everyone calls him. Like those two are definitely the standout stars of the game. Outside of bosses.
Didn't you say the Onion Knight? I'll just call him that because it's easier to remember. That he's going to help us with some fights at some point.
Yes, they're not necessarily boss fights though. He helps with towards the end of the game. He'll kind of help with a particular area.
Right. Okay. Is that only if we continue to speak to him as the game goes on?
Yeah, if you just carry on with this quest line, I'm almost tempted to kind of send you a link on how to do some of these characters' quest lines.
All right.
Because typical From Software games, they don't tell you anything on where to go or who to speak to or which quest lines to do and how to do them.
Yeah.
There's no hand-holding whatsoever.
I do find that baffling. Like, I feel like there should be a degree of hand-holding.
Well, there is, if you think about it. They tell you what to do in terms of the main story.
Right.
Like to ring the bells of awakening, and once you've done them, you kind of know that you need to go through Sen's Fortress, and it's kind of like you're learning that you need to go through to the end of Arnolondo, and then you get told to kind of gather the Lord souls for the Lord vessel. So they tell you enough to get by, but if you really want to dive into it, then you're gonna have to figure some of it out on your own.
Right. Well, I was just more getting at, like, the side quests. So a lot of the people are like, wow, you've let me out of this jail cell, and now that's it. It doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, am I supposed to go and do something now, or was that, and it's done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, like, I have no idea, because I remember you making a big deal of it when we came back to Firelink and it was off, and I was like, I don't even know what we did wrong. To be honest, I don't know what I was supposed to do to stop him from killing her. I didn't even know she was there.
The only way to actually like stop him is to just kill him when he's on site.
Right, so there's no way to know basically on your first playthrough.
No, and I fell into the exact same pitfall as you have. Like I was like, why isn't my bonfire working?
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know then. So at least I know I didn't miss anything that I was supposed to do.
No.
So. Well, I've already screwed up on Steam Deck as well then, because I let him out on that before I let him out on the.
Before you go through, I think it's before you ring the second bell of awakening. If you go to Firelink, do you remember you can kind of go down some stairs, like from the bonfire?
Yeah, where the cage is, where that last was in.
Yeah. So if you go there, he's hanging around there, and if you want to kill him, go for it.
Does he fight back?
Or is he he'll fight back.
Right,
yeah, they're not
just
gonna sit there and take it.
Well, I thought he might die in one hit or something.
No. I mean, I kill him in one hit, but that's because I'm absolutely overpowered. But that's by the by. Yeah, no. If you don't want to kind of deal with him there, then just kill him there. Though I think
Alright.
you will kind of miss out on some rewards, like his armor set and such. But it's your call. I would say, in my experience of the games, he's the one NPC that you probably could get away with killing. Typically, you're not meant to kill NPCs, but I would make an exception for this guy because he's an absolute asshole.
Alright, fair enough. I'll keep that in mind.
Mm. So how about that nightmare fuel that is Framped?
Oh god, no. It's the neck. That's what it is for me. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Oh. It haunts my nightmares.
I'm surprised it's not the teeth and the mouth that are like making you go like.
They're
This is
chattering.
what my sleep. Yeah. This is like what my sleep paralysis demon looks like.
I might sneak him into the render. There you go. If I have, I'll let you. I was gonna say I'll let you know where I find. Well, let me know if you find him.
Aye,
Sneak him
nice.
in the background.
Yeah, he is a bit scary looking.
He is a bit, yeah. I feel like he's gonna take my head off. Just like,
You're in for. I tell you what, you are in for a treat because you haven't spoken to him since you got the vessel, have you?
No. I don't think I will.
I think the worst bit about him is like when you feed him like items and he makes the exact same noise every single time.
Yeah. Ugh.
Like that heavy kind of breathing rah noise.
Yeah. Ugh. Didn't you say there's another one?
Yeah, but you really have to go out of your way to see him.
Right, okay.
He's definitely not a kind of first playthrough kind of thing. I would not worry about him whatsoever.
Right. Okay.
If you do decide to return to the game again later on, once you kind of want to give it another go and you've got a lot more experience and want to kind of go, if you want to kind of experience all of the character side quests and things like that, and are happy to look up a guide once you've experienced the main story, then or the proper story, then by all means go find him as well.
All right.
But yeah, no, I wouldn't worry too much about the other one right now. You've got enough to deal with Framped.
Yeah, that's true. One's enough.
Any other characters? There's Andre the blacksmith and I can't remember what he's called, and the other blacksmith that we've just met.
The giant guy. The golem thing. I don't remember. I don't even think I got his name. I just remember seeing him. That was when we got raided again.
He's just called the giant blacksmith. He doesn't have a name.
All right. Can he give you elemental upgrades? Did you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you remember what I was saying to you that like Andre can only take you so far, and then you'll meet a more experienced blacksmith. The giant is that more experienced blacksmith, so he will upgrade. And when you get, you probably noticed that you've got a couple of like boss souls. So he will be able to upgrade. It's very, very complicated, so it's not to worry for now, but he will upgrade your weapons, and using the boss souls he will make boss weapons.
Alright, nice. Okay. I'll give that a look.
It's very complicated, so I wouldn't worry about it too much right now, but he will be able to, at least from my experience, he'll be able to give you lightning weapons.
Alright. Okay.
And most enemies, if not all of them, are susceptible to some form of lightning damage. I think there's only one boss that I've come across that, and that's in the DLC, that is immune to lightning damage.
Alright, okay. So that's basically the best way to go then.
Yeah. Not saying that the other ones aren't viable, because they absolutely are.
Yeah. And there was one more thing I needed to ask, actually. This is turning more into a guide than anything else, but you know, with the you know when we first played it, and you asked me to keep a hold of one of the Firekeeper souls.
Yeah, I thought you could use it to revive the lasser.
Right. See, I was asking because I got one from beating one of the bosses on Steam Deck, and I was like, can I use this to upgrade my flask or not? So,
yeah, no.
Yeah.
She's obviously got because you said you couldn't revive her, even though you had one. So it's clearly they're kind of making you.
They're making you fight him.
The guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you got any of those Firekeeper souls, then just burn them and upgrade flasks.
Okay. Because I was going to say I had one before I did the Capra Demon, so I assume the Bell Gargoyles gave me it or something.
I'm not sure.
Either that or it might be the knight in the church, the big guy that appears once.
Yeah, that's where you would have gotten it. It would be on. He wouldn't have given it to you. It would have been on the altar.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I was just wanting to know whether I could use that now or not. So I could have had more health for the Capra Demon, but oh well.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. It's all good. No, it's all good. I mean, we got through it, so it's all that matters.
Any other characters you want to kind of discuss?
You mentioned one more, but again, you told me what it was before, but I've totally forgotten.
I mean, there is Guinevere.
That's the one. I'm trying to think of which one it is again. I only remember...
Yeah.
Only Solaire and Onion Knight are the ones that stick in my head when I think of NPCs.
That's totally fair.
For good reason, I'm sure.
And I mean, there's not really much to say about Guinevere. Like, she gives you the Lord Vessel, but she's just huge in multiple aspects.
Oh, of course, that's who it is, right? Okay. See, I'm thinking when you said chest, my brain's thinking the hat that you got me from the Mimics.
Oh no!
That's where my thing's going. I see what you mean now.
No, so in our document, I put like when referring to Guinevere, I put magnificent chest ahead. That's the meme. The meme is like you'll see on messages on the doors, like leading to her, is like magnificent chest ahead.
I've got to say, like, I haven't been playing it for too long, but I already love this community. Some of the things they come out with, I swear.
It's hilarious. Yeah. There is a secret boss in Anolondo, but we can go fight them later. So I'm not going to mention any more about them right now.
Okay, no bother.
Right, do you want to close out with the soundtrack? Like, what have you thought of the... I know there's very little music in this game outside of the boss themes.
Yeah.
But what have you thought of the music in the game?
I'll be honest, I can't really remember a lot of it. And coming from a channel that often uploads the soundtrack for Call of Duty, can't remember the soundtrack for Dark Souls. I ended up, with the Capra Demon one, I ended up taking my headphones off after like 3 attempts. Not because of the music, but just because I was
needed to zone in.
Yeah. So I thought, you know what, I'll just take the headphones off. But I remember liking it. Bell Gargoyles one was good. I remember enjoying that one. And ONS, I remember I mentioned it when we played it. I really quite like the theme for that one. It's not that I don't have any serious problems with the other themes. I just don't remember them. I'd have to, like you said, one of your recommendations was to go and listen to the soundtrack outside of the game. So I might have to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth doing. I mean, it's on Spotify. I don't
think
there's any... Yeah. All of the games are on Spotify, so...
Oh, nice.
Just having a look, Dark Souls. I mean, it mentions bosses and boss names, but you won't... Oh, you've got DLC bosses, nice.
Awesome.
But I don't think the names alone aren't going to spoil you.
Yeah, true.
If I mention... I don't know, let's see. If I mention to you something like... The Four Kings, are you going to have any clue as to what that is?
Yes.
Aside from that, there's actually like 4 kings. Like...
no, I don't.
Yeah. So I mean, like, even if you like I would listen to the soundtrack when you got a minute, but yeah, Ornstein Smoke soundtrack and the Bell Gargoyles are definitely a favourite.
Absolutely, like I said, they're the ones that resonate with me the most from when I remember playing them.
Yeah, there's a couple more iconic ones later on.
That's one thing I've always heard about people who play Dark Souls, is that the music has always been really good, and I'd have to say I agree so far. I've really enjoyed the themes we've had so far. What are we saying?
I was gonna say, I think is it Elden Ring that was the first one to have a full kind of ambient soundtrack as well, like the open world. I think it might be. I could be wrong though, but I think the music is also what makes bosses so memorable, because there's so little music in the game.
So when it plays, you know shit's getting real.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, pretty chair.
Right, well, we've just crossed the 2-hour mark. Was there any other kind of things you wanted to speak about?
Well, you did mention the Firelink Shrine theme, which I do remember.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I did quite enjoy that one. Or I did. I don't anymore. I don't even know if it still plays, does it? When the bonfire's off. It does.
It does, yeah. It's just, yeah. I mean, for all intents and purposes, when it is working, like the Firelink Shrine theme is very comforting.
It is, yeah.
Like, especially
I can actually remember it clear as day. Yeah, it's spot on.
Cool.
I think that's about it, though. What about you? Do you have any favourites?
I mean, yeah, I've already mentioned. Like, I agree with you that the Bell Gargoyles and Ornstein Smoke are really good. I really like the Gaping Dragon theme as well.
I'd have to give it another listen. Like I say, it's not because I didn't like any of these other ones. I just don't quite remember them.
Yeah, that's fair. But I like some of the other ones that are gonna come on later on. So I'm not gonna spoil them now, though.
All right, sounds good.
I'll save that for the next part.
All right. When do you reckon that'll be out? Just as a thing, like how long do you think it'll take us to get through the rest of? Because next week next week it's probably Oblivion, isn't it? That we'll be doing. So.
Yeah, and then
Black Ops.
Start Black Ops. I don't know when the next Black Ops 6 map is coming out as well, so that's something to consider. It might be a little while before we cover part 2.
Yeah.
As I mentioned to you and
Elden Ring.
Next month. Yeah, the Elden Ring Nightreign. Yeah, we're probably going to be covering that as well at some point. So we've got quite a bit to cover before we think about before part 2 of this comes out. But I think, as I mentioned to both Josh and you, our listeners, like. I felt like Josh, being at this halfway point of the game, would have played enough of it to develop a bit of an opinion that we can then have a discussion over it. So it's it's been quite fun to talk about.
It really has. We got a lot more out of it than I thought we would. To be honest, I didn't think I'd have 2 hours worth of stuff to say on it, but. Here we are.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the Oblivion stuff that we were speaking about probably took up like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. I mean, well worth it.
Oh, yeah, for real. Is there anything else you want to add on or go over that we've spoken about?
Maybe just a little. I think one of the big, just going back to when we started playing this, the first time, I think one of my big inspirations for trying it was seeing that you'd given it a go, because you came at it the same way I did and didn't enjoy it the first time.
Yeah.
But yet you managed to push through, and I thought that was kind of inspiring, honestly. So that was really the reason why I wanted to give it a a proper go. And I'm glad I have.
Good. I'm glad I could inspire you for it.
Because you know where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? As someone who immediately tried it and was like, oof, not for me.
yeah, for real. And I mean, I owe a lot to kind of been able to play Elden Ring first, because that kind of was my gateway drug into this genre.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know that this is kind of your first experience with the genre, but I would recommend that if anyone is hesitant with the genre from software games, start with the Elden Ring, because it's so much more accessible. It's not easier. I wouldn't say it's easier.
Yeah.
But it is a lot more accessible to newer players. So definitely give Elden Ring a go if you're hesitant and don't have other people to play with.
Yeah. Definitely a big contributor to my experience, for sure. If you're going to go solo, I would also recommend Elden Ring. I mean, I'm not too far through it myself, but you definitely have a lot more options. Like, if you get stuck, you can always go do something else and then come back and level up.
Yeah, for real.
It's not quite as grindy, I guess, because you can just, as we say, you can just walk away and go find something else to do for an hour to level up, instead of constantly doing what you have to do in Dark Souls, where you have to bang your head against the wall with the same encounters, leveling up until you're strong enough to get through it. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend trying that first as well, despite only having played a very short section of it.
Well, I'm glad you are enjoying this new genre of games.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm glad you've not been put off them.
There was a few moments, I'll be honest, there was moments where I was like, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go back and play Resident Evil again. But I'm glad I'm glad that we managed to stick it through, and honestly, I'm glad you're enjoying playing it as well, given that it's given you a new angle to play it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
to play it through it on co-op before.
Like, you've definitely given me a kind of new perspective on how to play it, and I am really enjoying it. I mean, I love the games in general. And it's always viable to, if you're finding a boss really frustrating, it's always viable to just put the controller down and go play something else, and come back later. For sure. Because the games, I think the biggest thing the games do teach is patience.
Well, they often say
perseverance.
They often say that, your brain learns when you're asleep. So, you know what I mean? So sometimes going for a lie down, you actually find that when you've woken up and you try it again, you're better at it. Because you've learned what it was you were doing wrong. And it's kind of clocked. It's kind of like the Oblivion leveling system, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
A way to weave that back in.
Well, if you don't have anything else to add, I will go on to the outro.
Alright, yeah, that sounds good to me.
So, as we kind of covered or mentioned a couple of times, next episode we were going to talk about the first Black Ops 1 Zombies map, Kino de Toten. However, with the release of the Oblivion remaster, Josh and I are going to discuss that next episode. I don't know what kind of format that's going to take, and how long or short it is, or necessarily what the topics are, because
we may even have to do another two-parter, because it's such a big
probably
game.
Going to be it might even be like multiple parts, to be honest with you, depending on how quickly we get through it.
I mean, I'm alright with that. I'm more than happy to do that. What are you saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye out on that, and then hopefully the episode after the Oblivion remaster one, we should return to the world of Call of Duty Zombies. But that also depend on what else is coming out. As we said, Elden Ring Nightreign is coming out soon, so that will definitely be one for discussion.
How far off is that now? Hold on.
It's end of the month. End of May? Mid-May?
Yeah, it's about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that, from when we recorded this.
We could well be talking about Elden Ring Nightreign. So, but in any case, stay tuned and see what we come up with. I'm sure one of us will update on a community post to let you know what's coming up. Last thing from me, once again, to remind you guys, usual YouTube pleasantries, like, share and subscribe. And I'll hand over to Josh for the final words.
Alright, so again, as always, just the usual stuff. You can always join the Discord if you want to talk about, well, to be honest, given that we've branched out a little bit here, I'm trying to think if the Discord's the best recommendation, considering it's primarily zombies at the minute.
Well, if you like zombies, you can join us.
Yeah, I've debated this. Maybe either adding to the Discord, like adding a new category for the podcast, like exclusively for the podcast, or whether to make a separate server for the podcast where we can talk about anything that isn't just
we'll have a think.
related to because that Discord was made originally for the compilation and that sort of thing. So I don't know.
We'll have a think.
Yeah, we'll have a discussion about it, and we'll go from there. But if you want to join it for now, if you're interested in zombies and Dark Souls by some chance, you can go and talk about zombies in the Discord. We've got some more soundtrack videos coming out probably next week now, I think. More than likely, considering I've screwed it up this week.
There should already, by the time this goes live, there should already be some coming out.
Aye, with any luck, yeah. Alright, and we'd also like to know what everyone else thinks about Dark Souls. Like, have you played it? Is it something you're interested in trying? Are you like me, and you've put it off for years and never quite had the nerve to try it? I'd definitely recommend giving it a go, if that's the case. With any luck, or well, maybe try doing it with somebody else who's beaten it before, if you want to have an easier time with it. But yeah, no, I'd highly recommend playing them for sure. And unless you've got anything else that you want to say, I think that's about it.
Nothing from me.
Alright, so we'll see you next time. Hopefully we haven't scared you off with the 2 hours and 11 minutes. See, it's good we do these in podcast formats, because if we did them in review formats, the reviews of videos would be like 2 hours. So podcasts work better for this kind of length.
Absolutely, and I'm assuming like our viewers are here like to listen to the rambles, so that's why they're that long.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I was listening to a podcast and it was 2 hours, I wouldn't mind, because you could just pause it and come back to it later. So it's not really a big deal. All right. Well, that's about that then. So we'll see you in the next one. See ya.
Bye.